Colin Goldwell was an odd man. He was a man focused inward, on himself, his sins, his tragedies. Some in Kilbarrow would call him the Shade Master. Still others accused him of necromancy and the conjuring of devils. The truth was far more tragic. He was a researcher and a scholar surrounded by tragedy all of his life. From the moment that he had been born, he had lost people, his mother in childbirth, then, soon after, his father to grief. He had been raised by his uncle in the years after that, neglected under his uncle's love for his own children that he ended up spending much of his time at the local repository. The hours spent among the various tomes only proved to sharpen his mind. He read of the gods, the devils and demons. He read about the Fae and the denizens of Pandemonium, and read about the Field of Pearls of Elysium. He broadened his mind from his tiny pocket of life on the material plane. His mind spun with great cosmological maps. He was a simple, tiny speck of insignificant dust on a great chalkboard. Just one of these pulsating fireflies in an unending field. One day his light would go out. That was just the truth. But for now, he would shine just as much as he could. So shine he did. And he was a bright young man. He rose to recognition, becoming a skilled arcanist. He earned the respect of the town leadership. He fell in love, and for the first time in his life, he had gained something instead of losing it. He had gained a family, a wife named Dana, and they lived 3 wonderful years together before they had a child together, twins in fact, a young boy and a young girl. For one summer, the family was at peace, living a simple life of luxury within the favor of their lords. For that summer the world was right, but all good things must come to an end. As fall came, Colin began to lose again. As winter's icy fingers began to creep their way through the warmth of the sunshine, the Goldwell family suffered their first loss. Their son, taken by the evening chill, soon after their daughter as well. In a reflection of his loss all those years ago, he then lost his wife to grief over their lost children. Once again, Colin was alone, shining with his own bright light flickering alone in the darkness. Alone, but he was a bright man, educated and trained in the magical arts, and so he began his journey. Delving into the research tomes he knew so well, he searched for maps of the river Styx, the flow of the souls to their final resting places in heaven or hell. He reached out to colleagues across the Mistkeep, holy men and women, researchers of the occult, anyone that could bring them back. An elven man that reached out beyond the plains as a diviner, seeing into far realms. A blind human man with a skill for augury and other readings. A dragonborn woman that dealt with devils. They all came up empty, on a mean of returning the man's family without any strings attached. Year after year, he searched for the answers he needed, the answers he desperately needed to remain whole. He had finally had a life. For the first time, he had been loved and loved in return. He would not let that slip away now. One day it came to him, a means of returning to his family from the grave, and in an act of desperation, he scrawled the ritual circle onto the floor of his home, now destitute from his fall from the favor of his lords that he had once pleased. He dug their bodies from the earth of the graveyard, wrapping them in a white cloth to spare himself the pain of their rotting faces. Chanting the spell, he reached beyond death itself to grip their hands once more, wrenching them from their eternal slumber. There, in the cold dead of night as the quarter moon loomed, something stirred in that shadowed home. 3 somethings, in fact, as the sheets moved. The man had returned his family once more, and the figures rose, shadowy facsimiles of themselves, separating from the body, shimmering like a mirage, unable to return to their bodies themselves. Colin reached out, reaching for his wife's hand, his children's faces, but his hands passed through them. Unable to regain what he had once had, he had doomed them to an unlife, a tortured existence that would never end, separate, like being on different sides of a glass. In his pain, he dug a hasty grave, and with his final axe, created a warded tomb for himself and his beloved family. This crypt, set in the basement of their family home, to protect their unending love from a world that had taken so much from them. And sealing himself inside, accepted his fate in the determination to remain with them for the rest of eternity. To this day, the Goldwell family roams the halls of their family home, the souls of the family split by the rending act of false resurrection and a desperate, chilling loneliness that throbs with the beating of Colin's own heart.